Jones. Greetings. Welcome back to another installment of a show here on the Be Better Network. I should not be hearing that. Give me 1 second. Struggle streaming already. All right. Welcome back to the channel. I am Brandon Jones, also known as Universal Jones, better known as Universal Jones on these YouTube streets and in social media. Today, we're going to continue a conversation on the hidden truth. One of the things that continues to happen over and over and over again is child abuse. It is a rampant thing that we see. What I've done with my channel is a bit of a rebrand, and I'm going to continue to have episodes on issues that affect people on a daily basis, things that we don't always talk about. A lot of these things will involve trauma, and I have a friend who's going to be assisting me on this journey as we cover child abuse that is going on all across the world, but definitely right in your backyards, and we don't even realize it all the time. And in the first episode that we did before we decided to make it an ongoing series, we covered why this happens, how this happens, and who it happens to. Today, we're going to look at the people who actually are the abusers and what takes place. This is an issue that takes place way more than you assume, way more than you know. And we're going to cover it right here on the Be Better Network. I'm going to bring up my friend Lionel Suggs. What's up, Lionel? How are you doing today, sir?
Good morning. It's still morning. Yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm still exhausted though.
It's okay to be exhausted, man. You work hard, man. There's a lot going on in your life, sir. There's a lot going on. So, but how are you? You know, it's Thanksgiving week. We are a few, hours away from Thanksgiving. I know some people are already cooking, and growing up in the neighborhood, the community I grew up in, Black folks in Minnesota. Yes, we do have Black people here. We always heard about that uncle, that person in the family. Don't leave the kids around that person.
Yep.
Don't sit on that person's lap. And I'm not saying specifically in my family there was an individual, but I've heard other people have those same kind of things. And then as I became a therapist later and was exposed to a lot of the abuse that kids go through, it was very, very common to hear similar stories. The holidays can be a very scary time for families.
Yeah.
It can be a time that's supposed to bring a lot of joy and happiness and gratefulness and gratitude. But for a lot of people, it brings a lot of pain, misery, mystery, and confusion. Tell us a little bit about how your holidays have been, or how are they now? Do you even celebrate the holidays? Like, how's your holiday season?
We don't celebrate. My family, we don't celebrate the holidays.
Okay.
We don't generally. I can't remember the last time I've seen my family for the holidays. My immediate or outer family. It's been a minute, but that's not something we generally did.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, like my sister, last time she celebrated Christmas was like 2011, 2012. Yep. We met for Thanksgiving a decade ago, maybe.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, we don't celebrate the holidays. That's not something we do. We don't believe in them. Just another day, honestly. But we're definitely not around people because there's nothing to be thankful for in this very cold world.
Now, a lot of people will have issues with what you just said. What do you mean there's nothing to be thankful for in this cold world? Like, there's a lot of things to be thankful for. We got God, we got our families, we got children. Lionel, why are you being so dark, man? Come on, man. There's a lot of things to be thankful for. What do you mean by that?
That's the mentality we generally have, unfortunately. I mean, don't get me wrong. We got some positivity to shed, but seen a lot more dark days and cold days than we have bright and sunny ones.
Okay. And again, that's a reality. I'm kind of making light of the situation, but
no, you're
that's
good.
What people will say to you. Cheer up. It's gonna be okay. It can't be that bad, right? We assume that things aren't as difficult as they are, or that they can be for a lot of people, but it does happen. It does happen in a lot of different spaces and places. And I think one of the ways that people cope with it is by, well, I would say two ways, because this is what I noticed during the holiday seasons, and you let me know if you've seen similar things. One, we suppress it very significantly. We just act like nothing's happening, right?
Yeah.
There's a trauma response, suppression of emotions, and suppression of reality. That's another thing too that happens a lot is people start to lose themselves in what's actually happening or what's real to make themselves feel better and just move forward with what's going on. The second thing is trauma bonding, which we see a lot of during the holiday season. And I'll be honest, we might get in a little bit of trouble today. But I see a lot of trauma bonding online too. When we're looking at these panel conversations, pay attention, especially over this holiday weekend. You gotta see some trauma bonding
That's
going.
what it is. I agree.
And what I mean by that, and it's not a bad thing when you find community and you find people to express yourself with or who have had similar situations or experiences, but it is also unhealthy if you don't know how to like deal with it and you're not packaging it up in a way where you can talk about it, but once you log off or once you disconnect, that you can handle it appropriately. And I think a lot of these people are not doing that at all. I think they're struggling with it, honestly. And since I've been someone who's kind of been a therapist to folks online before, I kind of smirk because I was like, I'd never do that again. But there was one time on this channel where I was offering a counseling session. Like, if you want to hit me up, feel free. We can work something out. And I did a good number. This is during this was before the pandemic, actually, and a little bit during. And I did a fair number of sessions, and boy, man, I would say a lot of people that I met online and did sessions with were in a lot tougher situations than people that I actually met through like in real in real life referrals. It's very fascinating. Very fascinating. I met some real cool people though. Don't get me wrong, but you never know who's listening, who's watching, and what they're dealing with.
Yep.
And I think that as a content creator or somebody who hosts a channel, we do hold a lot of responsibility for what we put out and how we put it out there. Because again, people do build these parasocial relationships, something else we talked about, and they will confide in you to heal and to work through things. And it can be a scary place if you don't have the skill set to deal with it. And I say that, and I'm bringing this up, and I'm gonna bring you in here in a second,
You're good.
because what happens is you're building these relationships with these people online on these panels. They drop their videos, their content, they make their posts on social media, but you don't really build those relationships with the people who you care about, the people that you're going to see this weekend or over the next couple of weeks. And you almost have these two different dynamics that are at play, like your actual real life relationships and then your online relationships. And both of those things can be toxic as hell, right? They can both be scary, but it is a dynamic that plays a role into what we're talking about around this abuse, because some of these stories we're going to cover have dynamics that started online. Like, these young people have connected to these adults or other young people and have been swindled into these dynamics through video games, through social media posts, through forums, through a lot of stuff. So,
Yep.
we have to factor this in, that is, yes, we're talking about the abuse of children, but there's a lot of adults who have been abused or are on the path of being abused by other adults as well. So there's a lot of people getting caught up in this dynamic that we're going to discuss today. Any thoughts on that? I kind of gave you a nice platter there to work with.
I got a lot of data on that actually.
Yeah.
I have a lot of data on that, and man, I would just tell you take your kids off the internet personally.
Now,
At
you've told
this
me this
point,
before. You
yeah,
told me that before.
at this
Say more
point,
about that.
I mean, if you're not watching them, like literally watching them as they're on the internet or playing the video games or just interacting online, they literally have groups now that are learning how children are talking, that are
Mm,
learning the games that they're playing, and they're filling their head ups with this to learn how to manipulate the children in order to get close to them, in order to harm them, essentially.
it's crazy.
But the parents, there's too many parents that'll put that that'll put that handheld in their device, and they'll go
Mhm,
upstairs, leave the laptop in front of them, go in the kitchen, be
mhm,
gone for 2 hours.
mm,
Put the TV in front of them while they got the phone in their hand. They're gone. Next thing you know, they think they talking to another 13-year-old, but they're actually talking to a 45-year-old.
mm.
That's the reality we have now.
Hmm. And that's crazy. And based on some of the research and stuff that me and you've covered, we've gone over in preparation for our show, these children are very susceptible to these things. They're like, oh, there's a friend. Somebody wants to know about me. Somebody wants to hear me. Especially these young people who have disconnection from their parents, right? So it's like, oh, they might not know the other person is an adult on the other end, but they're just looking for somebody who's genuine. And of course,
Yep.
these are predators. So these people are coming off very friendly, very nice. And this kid's like, oh, somebody actually cares about my opinion, what I'm doing, what I like. And a lot of parents and caregivers are not showing the same level of interest, simply not because they're bad parents or anything, but simply they don't understand all this stuff. They don't know what's going on in a lot of this anime stuff. They don't know what's going on in these video games. They barely get it. They barely get it, man. And when you find somebody who knows a little bit about it, that sparks some interest and some intrigue, man, for sure. So yeah. So any additional thoughts about that?
I personally, damn, I don't even want to say it like that. But one thing I do say when growing up with my mom that if I was reading a book, she wanted to know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
If I was watching wrestling, she was watching wrestling. If I was playing on my Game Boy, I'm old. Like she knew what I was playing. If I was going outside, she wanted to know all the friends. She wanted to know the parents.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of them. Be back in the house before the street lights come on.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I was into, she was into. Anything I was learning, she wanted to know about it. Anyone I was talking to, she demanded to know about it. Like that was her. That's how involved she was. And I'll always say, like, I used to hate going to school because she would just always pop up in there. And then I got all these guys sitting here. I'm about to be your daddy,
Mm.
because again, we're only 11 years apart. So
Right.
she's
Right.
popping in, they're looking at her like, oh,
Your
that's
older
your
sister.
sister.
Yeah.
And damn, your mom fine as hell. But she was there. She was eating lunch with me. You know, she was sitting in the class with me. This woman worked an hour away and made time to get there just to annoy me. But she was doing her job as a parent. Like that,
He
you
said
know,
just let me.
as a child, I was annoyed. As an
Sure.
adult, I'm like, damn, that girl, she was really putting in that work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was giving her a headache about it. But she was making sure I was good. And in return, I did the same with my siblings. So, but, and I'm not trying to knock other parents, but I don't hear parents like that. And I talk to numerous educators.
Yeah. 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 They're usually pretty hands off. And honestly, it's gotten so bad in a lot of schools that there is a disconnect between the families and the school. For example, in my daughter's middle school, this actually happened like a week or two ago, where she forgot her saxophone. So I had to bring her saxophone for band, and they wouldn't let me in the building. I had to buzz in, and then I buzzed into like an enclosed thing. It was a two-door thing, and they said just leave the saxophone on the shelf there, and then we'll bring it to her. I didn't get to even go to the office, man. That's way different than when we went to school. You can just walk up in there. You can go to the class, all types of stuff. There's plenty of times I seen random parents pop up on kids. You can't even get in the school building now. That's how locked down it is. So there's a systematic barrier there due to safety protocols, but then also there's this lack of intrigue and interest from parents and caregivers to even be that level of involved in their kids' stuff
Yep.
too. It's a double whammy for sure. Daniel Nixon put this group in the chat. I've never heard of the 764 group. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, that's exactly that's part of what I was talking about. That's one of the groups that are manipulating social media to, unfortunately, get in contact with children.
Wow, I never
That's
heard of
going to
this.
have to be a topic, honestly, because there's a lot that
Yeah,
goes
we'll
into
make that episode 4. Did you drop anything in there? Did I miss this? I don't know if I missed this or not.
not about this yet. That's
Okay, I haven't
that's
heard of this
the
group.
whole thing. I got content for that too, unfortunately.
Holy shit!
But
Nihilistic violent extremists. network for child exploitation expertise that targets, grooms, and coerces minors into self harm, sexual abuse, and violence. Holy shit. Federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and the Department of Justice, consider it a form of modern day terrorism and have opened hundreds of investigations related to the network globally. See, this is what we were talking about before. This is not a local thing. This is not a racial thing. This, I mean, they play out in certain ways locally and racially, but this is a global problem, man. Global problem.
So that goes into the Telegram incident
Wow.
from 2021 to 2022, where you had investigations from the BBC, The Guardian, Bellingcat, anti trafficking NGOs, South African Police Service, the US cybercrime analysts. You literally had them talking about a global epidemic of online male predatory behavior. And one of the largest hubs was 70,000 men with unique IP addresses, and they were talking about sexualized images of no, they were showing sexualized images of minors, discussions about trading victims, requesting Dropbox links for underage material, bragging about abusing younger girls, step-by-step grooming instructions, the violent fantasies about doing things to girls under 12, doxing threads for little girls. So again, that one group, one of the biggest ones was 70,000. Unfortunately, there was many other groups, and I mean many other groups that had tens of thousands more. So
Wow.
you'll have one group, 70,000 men, another group, 50,000 plus, and then other groups,
Sheesh.
10,000 to 30,000 each. And they was able to show that it was different people, unfortunately, involved in this. And they had messages like, just wait until she's 13. You can
Mm.
groom them easily. Take what you want. So, so, and then this group is something ironically that's separate from that one. Once again, showing you how bad it is.
Yeah.
And it was literally from the UK, the US, South Africa, Germany, Brazil, India, the Philippines, the Middle East. This is where they found all of them.
Mm. So again, it's a global network, and the group that we're talking about, folks, is the 764. Is that what? How is it even? Is it 764 group, or how do they? I don't even know how they fucking
I
term it.
was
I don't,
in the 764.
man. So there's a so and so the incident that you're referring to, where there were the 70,000 people, that was on Telegram. So that
Yeah,
we know
now
that's one
this is
of the
this not. I'm not saying that they're not on it, but this was a different situation altogether.
sure,
So
sure,
you got one. You have numerous situations that are in play. That I have different data on that also, but again, that 70,000 was just one of the hubs out of others. Because the
sure.
one right next to it was 50K, then the other was 30K, then many others were 10 to 30K. And
That's
that's
crazy.
what these guys were doing, fantasizing about abusing children.
That's crazy. Yeah. So, man, again, we want to emphasize, folks, this is a global problem. This is happening all over, and that's why earlier when I opened up, I said it's happening in your backyard. It's happening. And again, we don't want to terrify people and make you feel like you can't allow your kids to live their lives and have some fun and be able to like roam the neighborhood and go to the park. But you do need to be aware of what's happening out here. It's not all online, it's in person as well. We do know through statistics that most abuse happens from family members and people that you know, but still there are people with these desires out there and they're liable to do a lot of things. And Lionel has a lot of data. Trust me. Sometimes I'm like, bro, stop posting stuff in our threads. So I'm like, man, I can't keep. I honestly can't keep up, man, because it's so much. But I said this last week when we did our episode. Since me and you've been talking about this over the last month, 2 months or so, I've seen I've just noticed so many more like articles and stuff. I put a couple in there over the last like
Yeah,
24 hours. Couple coaches, locally there was a teacher who just got in trouble. Like it's just like this stuff just is happening all the time, man.
it's the
It's
people that
scary.
it's the people that you trust, and I keep
It's
saying that
scary.
because they'll make it sound like, oh, it's some random stranger, which happens, but that's like the low ball of it. It's overwhelmingly people that you know, people that you trust, and people that have unfortunately made made good with the community. The,
Yeah.
the mild mannered people, the Clark Kents, the people
Yeah.
everyone thinks they're great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I showed you the guy that I knew, the teacher in Minnesota. Did I show that video? I don't think I showed that video on my channel. All right, let me open up with that before we get to Tim Tebow because I want to emphasize this point.
Go for it.
You just don't know who's doing what, and this is somebody that like I didn't like know him super duper well, but we've been in similar spaces together. Like we've been in like community groups and we've done some similar work. I would have never thought, but and I don't want to say too much about it because I want the video to kind of bring a little bit of bring a little. Oh damn! Did I close? Hold on. I'm trying to open up YouTube. Give me 1 second. It's gonna make me sign back in. Struggle streaming. Hold on, folks. So this is a guy. Like I said, I've met this man in person. He's never been around my children, but professionally, we've been in similar spaces. Why does it keep doing that? And hold on. This happened. The incident took place over a few years, but he was recently caught a year ago. And I remember when he got caught last year and and I seen the post and I was like I was surprised and I remember I shared it on Facebook and I was like, "Yo, like no one's going to say nothing about this?" And everybody was just mute, Lionel. No one said nothing, bro. Like nothing. And then I was like, okay, no one said anything. So I posted again. No one has any comments about this? Nothing. And then recently, I'm gonna show two news clips because there's an update on it. Recently, people started to talk about it once the actual court case happened. So that's when they cared enough to say something. It was when the court thing happened. I was like, this is crazy, bro. But when it first came out, no one said nothing, man. They didn't say nothing about it. It was all tight lips. Black people, we love the champion folks in our community. They didn't say anything. We'll come back to the lawsuit in a second. I want to show this video. All right, I found it, and let's get it up here. So this is an individual that I've met in person. We've been in like certain community groups together. We've done some community work together. But this individual was caught.
Tonight, disturbing allegations against Minnesota's former Teacher of the Year. Charging documents say middle school teacher sexually assaulted one of his students for a year, and it started just months after he took home that award. Jessica Hart joins us live from the newsroom. Jessica?
Julie, back in May, the girl's mother reported to Minneapolis police her then 14-year-old daughter was sexually abused by her teacher. He's charged with one count of criminal sex conduct of a minor.
Man, it's such a huge honor to just win the award.
Minnesota's 2016 Teacher of the Year is accused of sexually abusing a child. Hennepin County Court documents accuse Abdul Wright of grooming his 8th grade English student in 2017 at Harvest Best Academy before starting a year-long sexual relationship with her. According to the complaint, the victim alleges Wright asked her if she was a virgin. That's when the victim says the alleged sexual contact started. According to the documents, the victim claimed she lost her virginity to Wright in a classroom while his children were in the next room. The day after Wright won Teacher of the Year in 2016, he spoke with KARE 11 about what motivates him in the classroom.
It's just the love that I get to put in the lives of my students every single day, and not just the students, but the families.
Court documents allege the victim told investigators Wright formed a close relationship with her mother, so he would be trusted to take her places.
And I think it's knowing the responsibility that I have. I think it's knowing that I have an opportunity to do something that's much bigger than myself that drives me every single day.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Harvest Best Academy says they are gathering all available information and facts related to these allegations, and that Wright hasn't been employed at the school since 2021. The Minnesota teacher program said in a statement they were shocked and saddened to learn of the charges against Wright, stating Minnesota schools should be the safest place for children in their communities, and anything that endangers or harms them, we condemn unequivocally.
Wright was recently employed at St. Louis Park High School. The school confirms he resigned on June 10th, and there are no pending investigations involving him. I reached out to Wright's attorney, who said it's not the right time to comment because he hasn't seen the evidence. Wright will appear in court on September 18th.
Thank you, Jessica.
So again, I hold on one second.
This former
Again, I've met this man. I've dapped him up. That building, I've worked in that building for several years. Harvest Prep is one of the. It's like it's not the. I wouldn't say it's the elite black school, but it's one that we cherish here, and they have a lot of problems. But we've cherished here for a long time, and for him to do those things. Did you hear that when they first had the first inappropriate sexual encounter? His kids were in the next room. He did it at the school, bro. I'm like, what the? And you know what's crazy about this? I was probably a year. I think the last time I worked there was like 2015, 2016. It might have been 2014. And that was like maybe a year or two before the incident took place. So it was, I mean, that's just way too close to home. But this shit happens, bro. What are your thoughts from the video? What did you hear in the video?
Things I've heard other young girls say that grown men have asked them, "Are you a virgin?"
Mm.
You know, young girl. I mean, unfortunately, and a few young boys have been asked that same question. And these people, because I don't want to just make it sound like it's a teacher, but there are teachers who will talk to their kids like that, and there are some that have been caught in relationships with students, unfortunately, that I know personally. I was at Eleanor Roosevelt when I graduate, 2007. And there was a guy in the classroom and he was talking about I forgot what she was. She was like something around the assistant principal, maybe. She was something around there. Older lady. We heard that she gave basically a blow bang to the football team.
Wow.
And the dude was in there. He was talking about how uncomfortable the situation was because she was just asking the whole football team to do all type of stuff to her. And, you know, you could think that maybe dude was just exaggerating. But in the same breath, you know, I'm listening to him and he just didn't come off as this dude that was lying. You find out in the newspaper because someone told on her that's exactly what she was doing. She was manipulating these boys into getting her desires put out. But this is a woman that's quote unquote supposed to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to highlight that it can happen from women also. But these boys were like 14. She was in her 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is someone that, again, I've listened to pedophiles talk just like how he talked. They got close with the mom, were cool people. Next thing you know, smashing a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that weakness, that vulnerability. There was a guy who outright said, if she see that the mom doesn't have a father around, oh hell yeah, he going in.
Mm.
That's all he needed to know. He knows he can easily manipulate her, make her feel comfortable, and then go after the child. And this is like a group session talking to predators.
Mm. Yeah. They left out some detail, and maybe we'll get it. I'll play the next clip that's a little more recent with the court case.
But wait, one thing I do want to say, just like how you said, you've met this person in real life. A lot of people have met predators and pedophiles in real life. They just don't know it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tonight.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's true, man. It's true, and I couldn't. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, Lionel, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What the fuck?" I know this dude, but like the thing that really killed me was like the details of the story, like how long it lasted,
Yep.
The things that he did, how he worked through the mom, how the community didn't really say nothing about it. Because when he won Teacher of the Year, he was the man. We got a black Minnesota Teacher of the Year. He's all on the news. He was getting like awards and shit. And the whole time he's fucking this kid, bro.
What's funny is I literally just brought this up before you showed that video, and that is the type of person that you'll see, unfortunately, assaulting little children. And there's a lot of social workers that can vouch for this. That a lot of these guys that were touching these kids, they were community leaders. They were the people that were being praised. And then next thing you know, you find out they got a 2-year-old in the bathroom.
It's insane, bro. It's crazy. You know what? I'm not even gonna say anything else about the details. I'm gonna let the clip fill it in because you're gonna be like, it gets worse when you find out more context. It gets worse, like really bad. Anything else you want to add before I roll this clip?
Go for it.
All right.
Abdul Wright is currently in custody at the Hennepin County Jail as the former Minnesota Teacher of the Year awaits his sentencing. Now, Wright's conviction hinged on the testimony of his former middle school student who told the judge how Wright sexually abused her back in 2017. The abuse lasted almost a year, some of which took place inside the classroom at Best Academy in Minneapolis.
Now that little silhouette, that was fake because you could tell that was not a non-black girl. This girl was black, by the way, that he abused.
Yeah.
They just did that for they needed something to fill in the clip, but that's not the girl.
He was just manipulative.
The student detailed the abuse when she sat down with the Fox 9 investigators last year. We agreed not to reveal her identity because she was only 14 years old when the abuse took place.
I think that his status and him being Teacher of the Year really was the reason that a lot of people turned a blind eye.
During the trial, Wright testified in his own defense, describing his relationship with the student as, quote, loving, affirming, and empowering, words the judge later called concerning.
I was in 8th grade, and I was expecting to be protected, but I was also naive.
There was also a lot of evidence prosecutors showed.
Hold on. Even that bothers me that girl said that, because honestly, she shouldn't be naive. You know what I mean? She's a child, right? Like that to me, that sounds like she's taking on adult responsibilities for being abused. You know what I mean? When I hear stuff like that, that bothers me. I don't know if you picked up. What did you pick up on there?
Let me know. That's what a lot of victims are going to tell you, though. That's why they blame themselves. They like, "This is my fault. I was stupid."
Yeah.
But it's like, but you were 8, you were 11. But that's how it. I personally know that when these guys touch you, they're going to tell you you're a real man now. You're an adult now. You know, or when, my mom told me plenty of times these guys would tell them you're a woman. She's 11 years old. You're a woman, though. This is what a woman does. This is how they talk. So it puts that idea in your head. And, here's this 14-year-old. She thinking she's naive.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because you had this guy feeding her to think, she's more mature than what she was.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, this is the same dude. The last clip I showed was from a year ago. The clip that I'm showing right now is from about a month ago as the trial had went through, the sentencing had taken place.
And I was expecting to be protected, but I was also naive.
There was also a lot of evidence prosecutors showed the judge, including gifts Wright gave to the student. One of those gifts was a charm bracelet, which had an infinity symbol charm with the words "Forever Friends" on it. Then there were the phone calls, hundreds of them between Wright and the student, which the family told the school about years ago.
A phone record that was...
When I tell you, what did we say before? They told the school a year ago. Now, he didn't quit. Remember in the last clip, what year did he quit? They said 2021.
Yeah.
This abuse happened when she was in the 8th grade. She's like, I think she graduated high school by now. This is like, what the hell? Like, again, in order for, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the first episode, in order for this to work, there's a level of acceptance amongst people who are not directly involved. Indirects is what I call them. And that level of acceptance allows for this stuff to get as global as it is. And if we don't talk about it, like we don't point it out and we don't start doing something about it, it will continue. There's no reason why that school should allow him to continue to work there or not reported the fact that they were talking. That's inappropriate already. Hundreds of phone calls, that's not suspicious at all. Even if it was 5 phone calls, if the family's reporting that, that should be seen as a problem. Why was he still employed and around other children? I have no. And then he got another job at a different school later.
Because they ignore it. I mean, that's the thing.
What the fuck? This is insane.
Accountability is a linkage, unfortunately. And if we're going to hold that person accountable, we got to hold ourselves accountable. But the more we kind of put it off, the less accountability has that weight.
It's insane, man. Yeah, and you know, I know the ups and downs that school has had. Like I said, I've worked there through other organizations and as a contractor at one point in time doing counseling, and it's not perfect. And I know the kids that go to that school, they're majority Black. They got a good chunk of Muslim kids that go there as well. I say Muslim because they're East Africans and Black Muslims, and they have kind of several different types of schools in one building. But like, I'm not surprised this happened, and there's probably other stuff that took place in this building that he just got caught, and there may be other people involved in shit like this, because for him to get away with this is insane. And then the fact that the thing that still bothers me is that he had sex with her in a room next to the other room with the other kids, and it's like, what the fuck? How does that how? I mean, obviously it can, but like, how can you pull something like that off without no one noticing anything? No one knows, oh, Mr. Wright is gone for 15 minutes or whatever. No one notices nothing. Like, they're just over in another class.
I mean, do your school have cameras in the classrooms?
Yes.
So that means most likely, I mean, because from what I've seen, the people that do have those cameras, they're checking them throughout the day. So
now they might have them in the hallway, and I don't know what the layout. I don't even know what room, but I do know in that building they have those connected classrooms. You know how you have a door inside where you can go to one. So it could have been one of those too. And I don't know if all the classrooms have cameras. I doubt it.
He might have been.
There are cameras in that school, absolutely.
So someone most likely saw something, but they just decided to ignore it.
They were told. Hey, they're talking. This man is talking to my eighth grader. Did nothing. The fuck? All right, let's just play this. This is insane.
Insane. It was all times of night, all times of day. I think all of his behavior was hiding in plain sight.
The student testified Wright would force her to take Plan B weekly while the abuse was ongoing.
Not weekly.
She also described how Wright.
I don't remember that part. That's crazy. Let me rewind that. That's crazy, Lionel. Bro, what the fuck?
A phone record that was insane. It was all times of night, all times of day. I think all of his behavior was hiding in plain sight.
The student testified Wright would force her to take Plan B weekly while the abuse was ongoing. She also described how Wright gave her special attention. Do you believe that it was grooming?
Yes. I just don't think anything that happened was a coincidence. I think it was all premeditated.
I don't think this type of crime is redeemable.
Court transcripts reveal Wright testified he never had an inappropriate relationship with the student. But the judge said the most convincing piece of evidence was an incriminating phone call between Wright and the student's mother.
I ain't never did no shit like that before. And I thank God this morning when I didn't have the police at my door. I swear to God I did.
In her written ruling, the judge said it appeared to this court that Mr. Wright was lying during his testimony and was truthful during the recorded call. Now, Wright is set to be sentenced tomorrow afternoon. Under state sentencing guidelines, he could face up to 14 years in prison and be required to register as a sex offender. For the Fox 9 investigators, I'm Nathan O'Neill.
Slap on the wrist.
What was that?
That's a slap on the wrist.
I know, that's because he can get out. He can do 7. Get out.
And then back to doing what he was doing.
Back. Bro, this is insane, bro. I don't even remember what the actual sentence was. I'm gonna look right now. But yeah, thoughts on that? Thoughts on that?
No, not on that one.
Mm.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. And again, that, like I said, that was oh man. Yeah, he got sentenced to the whole 14.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they
Um
took care of him in prison.
yeah, who wrote this? I might actually know the author. No, Matt. Let's see. Yeah. Sentenced to the whole 14. Yeah, see, I had just left, bro. I remember this time so vividly. So around this time, a couple of us were like winning stuff. I had won a big prestigious award, so I was out. That's how me and him got into the same group, because we were like winning. Like I won this big prestigious award. Like two other black women won something, and then he won this, and we were kind of like the people in the community. And I remember I was like, oh, I didn't know. I never met this man till then. So I remember this time very vividly, because we were like on top of, like, we're moving Minneapolis into Twin Cities, Florida as these young black professionals. And this nigga was having sex with a kid, bro. This just blows my mind, man. I can't even deal with this type of stuff. But okay, all right, let's move on to Tim Tebow, because this is getting too personal. I'm getting pissed off. What the
I understand, huh?
Like, this shit's insane. But all right, so folks, we're gonna transition and talk about how these folks get to this level of doing this type of stuff. And of all people, Lionel found this podcast that we clipped up of Tim Tebow. Now, I didn't know Tim Tebow was actually on this quest of, hunting out these predators and talking about these things. We all know Tim Tebow from his glory days back at Florida University, winning championships on the football field. Not the best quarterback, but definitely very electrifying. But a lot of the focus off the field for Tim Tebow at that time was him being like a very staunch Christian and being a virgin. And people used to make fun of him, like, how are you this big time Heisman football winning quarterback, double championship winning quarterback? And you're a virgin, but he would get a lot of crap for it. And his NFL career didn't really take off the way that people thought it would. And he's kind of turned his life over to, doing good in the world. And this is some of the good that he's selected to do. So, you want me to play the first clip?
Yeah, play the first one.
All right, we're going to roll the first clip. This is Tim Tebow exposing who these predators.
This is happening in our backyard.
We caught a guy in 5 seconds. I said, "You're a hacker. Fire your computer up. Let's do it."
I'm just gonna say, hi, who wants to chat? I named myself Ashley 13 Female New Jersey. Let's see how many private messages come in. 2 already, 3.
It's been like 10 seconds.
I can't even keep up with them here. Every time I click one, there's more on the list. Oh, he's 47.
47 years
okay
old in
with
a
my
teen
age?
chat room.
I said, are you okay with my age? 13, like my profile says. He says, yes, want to fool around?
It hasn't even been 60 seconds yet. You jumped in a chat room. You called yourself Ashley 13 New Jersey. Literally less than 10 seconds. We have a 47-year-old wanting to have sex with a 13-year-old girl.
So we think it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. No, it is happening in our country, right here, in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, in our families.
These predators are on everything. Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, their Xbox when they're talking to their friends.
And maybe even declare a national emergency to fight this evil.
And I only said hi in the chat room, nothing else.
So there's it. Now you picked that clip out. What are your thoughts on that?
Like they said, it should be a national emergency. They're everywhere. You literally got to see a hacker go in there and just say, "Hi, I'm her." First thing, got a 46-year-old dude trying to get the box. You had the hacker constantly trying to show you that he's trying to talk to these numerous people. And he said, so many are coming in, he can't keep up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that should give y'all an idea of what exactly is happening right now. And I brought this clip up particularly because it actually coincides with what I talked about earlier with the Telegram situation. Because when initially this came out, so many men were saying, well, this is happening in Germany. This is happening in India. All of that's happening over there. We don't have stuff like this over here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what actually helped prompted him to be like, well, let's figure out what's happening right in our backyard and how bad it is.
Man, yeah, it again. that was eye opening when I watched that clip because of the response rate was just like instant and overwhelming.
Yep.
I don't know what kind of thread or form that was, but the fact that a young person can just find themselves in there and boom, it can happen like that. It's crazy. Dale Nixon had brought up the Roblox lawsuit. I think that's another like example of this. I don't know if you're familiar with that lawsuit at all, but that might be something that we can cover in a later episode.
That's got to be a different video though. But
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it.
But Roblox is another one of those avenues where you can get caught up talking to people that you don't know. For that reason, not this lawsuit, but before the lawsuit even happened, and I got wind that you can have inappropriate conversations on Roblox. I used to allow my kids to play Roblox, but they is not on any devices. They cannot play that anymore. They don't have any access to that. But yeah, definitely Roblox is a problem. All right, I'm gonna roll the next clip. So this next clip is a continuation from the same interview.
That's a lot of evil. Yeah. A friend of ours that fights in this space 3-4 weeks ago was telling us a 13-year-old girl was being raped while someone would stand there and read the Bible to her. And then they would rotate and someone else would come in, read the Bible while she would be going through this horrible evil. It was believed that they were doing this so that the worst moment of her life would be associated with God's word. You want to read something?
This forum is entitled Forced and has 50 members/contributors. The specific forum has been active for nearly 2 years. Offender 1, what are you into? Offender 2, but anything goes. Offender 3, I'm 60 and a very violent man. No isn't an option. Offender 4, hello all, how are my fellow friends today? Offender 2, I have 20 TB
terabytes.
Oh my gosh. Of video new for 2023 vids available. This is what we're facing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are hurtful and disturbing about it. One of the things that we're seeing grow bit by bit is offenders that are saying instead of finding their next victim, some of them are saying, let's just grow our next victim.
What are your thoughts on that?
To be honest, that actually answered what Urban had just asked in the chat, actually. I
can read it, and then if you want to respond. So, not saying that this isn't reality, but how do they know that it's men responding to them and or they are falsely creating these conversations for content and shock value?
So, just like the video was just showing, it was 50 men in there. And they could confirm that. And a lot of this other information literally does come from the FBI stats, Department of Justice stats, and just sheer patterns and whatnot. Not saying some people ain't doing it, but when we're talking about creating content for shock value, this isn't content that's blowing up. This isn't content that's trending by any metric. You literally got to find this stuff for it to really just start appearing in your feed. And they literally do have different law agencies coming together, trying to pinpoint, trying to look through the IP addresses to figure out what's going on. It goes back to, I had brought up earlier with the Telegram situation. They literally had the BBC, The Guardian, Bellingcat, anti-trafficking NGOs, the South African Police Service, the US cybercrime analysts, all going in there to track the IP addresses to see who exactly was saying this. That's how they could confirm that, damn, look at how many men or little boys, young men, are doing this. So that's how, if that answers your question. But even you have these people's testimonies, and again, they're literally reading you just that one situation. You got 50 men lined up, some in their 60s.
Yeah.
And they're just ready to groom you Or, hey, we're going to assault you and let you know that, hey, this is God's work.
Mm.
Once again, conditioning.
Yeah.
That's a great example, and unfortunately, but it's another example of conditioning and what's being happened. The teacher was literally conditioning that little girl in a
Right.
similar way to how you got these men conditioning these children.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, the consistent contact, the confusion with her with school, with the girl, the example, right? So academically you're going to do well, but at the same time I'm going to abuse you. I'm also going to show up and be friendly with your mom or your family, and we're going to be, connected that way, but again, I'm going to abuse you. And then here I'm going to read the Bible to you as you're being abused. Like, it's just like it's creating like a cognitive dissonance to reality, and to what's actually taking place with you as well. It's very, very interesting dynamic. My question is, I get to the dark psychology of it. It's like, where does that come from? Like, where is that taught? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's some sick psycho. No, I guess we could say it's not really psychopathic. It's more sociopathic. But where do you think that comes from? Because that has to be. I mean, to a certain extent, that type of behavior has to be created from something, or is that just a natural piece of who these people
I
are?
think a lot of guys are predators. I'm being honest. I think a lot of guys are predators. I mean, you can put a negative connotation to it or a positive one, but I think a lot of guys get a kick out of the hunt
Mm,
and the domination. And what better way to do it than to take away someone's innocence?
wow. Yeah, that's an interesting point, especially now in this society where we don't live how it used to be. Right, we're not hunting our food. We're not at war. So you take those same levels of desire, but you put them in a level of perversion, and you abuse and prey on children. That's fascinating. I wonder, like, okay, if that's true, where does that go with other people who aren't abusing children? But that might be a whole nother conversation.
That's a
But
different conversation, but I get where you're going.
it's like, okay, if that's a primal thing or a piece of masculine nature, where is that channeled, or is it suppressed? Does it turn into internalized depression for men? like what happens? But we could dive into that.
And just to be quick with it, I mean, if you're going to be real, I mean, we see what's happening currently because of, hey, I'm not going to, if I can't befriend the kid at school, what we have now are dealers. We have guys that on the street corners, dudes who used to deal, powder and snow. Now they dealing in AI children. Here you go. Now you can go online and just look at pictures and videos of little kids or little kids being hurt, and you can get off on that. Now, of course, you end up getting tracked, but it don't stop them from still trying to consume the material.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, that's insane, man. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. All right. I'm gonna play the next clip.
Let's go.
It is okay. 10.
Do you know the number one offender? Biological fathers. This is over the last 30 days, and every red dot on that map is at least one unique IP address of individuals downloading, sharing, distributing child abuse and images under the age of 12. And there's over 111,000 of them just in the US of the last 30 days. Sean, it's right here in our backyard. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders, and your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. One of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress. Right now, in victim identification officers at C3, there's 7 of them.
There's how many?
7. When we go back to those 50,000 boys and girls that are unknown in the ICSA database that we were talking about before, out of those 57,000, over 3,000 of them were infants or toddlers.
Oh, man.
And then we get into the fight against live streaming. And do you know the number one payer of live stream of boys and girls around the world? US. And in peer-to-peer sharing, we're 3rd. China, Russia, America. Sorry, I do get fired up about it.
I do too.
So they packed a lot into that. Like that one we probably should have uploaded so we can pause it. Because
So no,
where do
no.
you want to start? Because that was like four things. They're all connected. But where do you want to
I'm
start?
glad because once it goes back to Urban's question, and I'm actually glad that he brought that question up earlier. About about that one, because we have too much information at this point. We have way too much information and we have too much patterns.
Yeah.
And this is literally from, again, the CDC, Department of Justice, CPS. We have too much data that is pointing to it. You just saw right there that in a 30-day span that they tracked 110,000 unique IP addresses, men, and they were looking at material under the age of 12.
Yeah.
This is a 30-day period. And then they're sitting here, you know who's doing it. And they're telling you the majority of the offenders. They're telling you the repeat offenders. They're giving you the data that's telling you the predatory nature that exists right now, and overwhelmingly who's responsible for it. Who are the hunters? And again, even with the stat he gave, the problem is they literally almost every agency tells you there is a 90% ratio of basically what's not being counted.
Yeah.
So you could just start adding multipliers to how much of it really is happening that we can't actually quantify.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, those are the people who are actually being caught doing it, right? I think that's
Yup.
fascinating because there's a lot that aren't. What about the predators who don't use the internet well, right?
Yup.
They're at the library, the bus stop, the school, whatever, the grocery store. I think that there's a lot more of this than what we actually know. Those numbers are very stark though, and should terrify us all. But there's more of that than what we know. When I think of predators, I think of people that I've known as a child. Not that I've known them as predators, but like how we used to hear about it is like, oh, that's that weird guy that lives down the street, or that's that person's uncle. We really didn't talk about women; it was always men.
Men.
But if we're being honest, there were stories of teachers
Yup.
having really more counselors than actually teachers that were having sex with like teens and shit like that. And we didn't see it as abuse at that point in time. It was just like, oh, you can hit a counselor or a teacher. Like it was like a big up type of thing rather than this is a level of perversion. So my mind always resorts back to that. Like when I think of put myself in those shoes, like there was no internet to use to get to kids. Now there is. Like, so again, I think that to be, 25, almost 30 years plus in this internet world, it's very alarming and scary that this is what the level that it's at. And then, in that clip, they packed so much in, like they gave us like ages and they gave us numbers, but to know that there's a level of people who are interested in kids, even young, like super duper young. Like I think they said like, what did you say, 4 to 6 or something like that. Like that's scary, bro. Like that's a level of a psychological level that is beyond anything. Like those kids aren't close to any. They're kids, right? They're not. You wouldn't look at them from a level of sexual place at all. But for these people to have that desire, there's something obviously wrong with their minds. And I don't know I don't think you can reconcile those things. I don't think jail time is gonna fix that. I think that those people are just way beyond disgusting and demonic, and there needs to be some sort of intervention. And it ain't jail. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Urban, question everything, man. I'll always say that. Question everything, question everybody.
Morals for sure. Said I'm speechless. Some religious teachings allow predatory behavior. Absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is like nothing is off the table, right? No religion is perfect. Damn near every religion has some level of abuse in there on some level. So even that to a certain extent isn't a way of saying that we can cure or work through this issue at all. And I think the data proves that. I think the experiences that prove that. I think that the things that we hear about Catholic priests and Muslims and other, I think we got enough evidence that religion doesn't stop any of this level of abuse.
Oh, so basically from the child maltreatment report from 2022, they said that over 50% of the confirmed child sexual abuse victims were under the age of 6 years old, which
Right.
we could confirm it was 30,000, which he was bringing up. That's why all the shit that he's saying, I've actually confirmed this through data stuff by
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
So I'm not showing y'all nothing that I haven't went and confirmed myself. And again, that's what they could confirm. And they was even telling you the single largest group was children between the ages 0 to 5.
Yeah.
And notice what that said, 0 to 5,
Yeah, that's crazy.
because there were kids that were 18 months getting penetrated, kids that were 2 years old getting penetrated.
That's crazy. That's sick. And I even think of, and you know this because of kind of how we got connected. I've been in a lot of YouTube channels that cover a lot of news. A lot of news, obviously, criminal news. It involves a lot of black people, unfortunately. And one of the things that I was noticing, but we never really had a full conversation about, is a lot of the child abuse stories. Like the children were typically under the age of like 6. It would be like, and it'd be horrific stuff. Like these kids would end up dead sometimes. So there'd be like sexual abuse and then a death or a strangulation or like these severe burns. And it was like just real like crazy behavior, like outrageous. Like it wasn't just abuse, it also came with a level of violence on these kids too. And I don't know what that's about. But that is something else that I noticed when it comes to that as well. There's a question in the chat. It says, should we give children after divorce, I think, to the husbands? Is there better for children to stay with their fathers? And I would say no, based on the video we just seen, because they started off and said most of the abusers are the biological dads. Like just on that alone, I'm like, I don't know if they're safe that way either. Yeah, I think and as a person who's been divorced and has daughters too, I think the best dynamic is a healthy co-parenting dynamic where there's a lot of transparency and the parents are on the same page on how they're monitoring online activity, who their children are around, like friends and families that their children are around, and that they're trying to do their best to keep an eye and be on the same page with how those children are being raised after divorce. Outside of that, I don't know if I wouldn't say that being with one parent or the other is the best, given what we know about the data. Any thoughts from you?
Hmm.
Go ahead and say it, Lionel. I can see it.
I
Say
mean,
it.
the parent home is the problem already.
Yeah.
The thing, home is the problem already. And if it's not the biological father, which it's unfortunately they tell you, so you have data that shows you that there's basically a 4 to 8% case of cases, but
Mhm.
these are simply child sexual assault abuse cases. They tell you that definitely stepfathers, mother's boyfriends, that ratio increases between the 20 to 40% ratio. Um, then you got the other male relatives. Now he tells you that it is biological fathers who dominate that stat. That stat actually isn't inclusive to America. That one's more all encompassing.
Okay. So it's a global.
And so when you see that stat, now he's definitely jumping around the board, which he's not wrong, and it's definitely scary. However, because of the severe lack of underreporting, that becomes another issue. So the only thing, it once again goes into what we can, the tangible data versus what the kids are actually saying. Because unfortunately, and I don't know why I'm a magnet, I have met boys and girls who have been abused by their biological father. And it
Mhm.
has a habit of being them more than some boyfriend or stranger, although that plays a part too. So to answer that question, the both parents are at fault. Both parents, I mean, if if you can't protect the child, then one isn't better than the other, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Urban brings up a point. I didn't touch this, but I have seen some of the research that has come out. Urban says that I say that far as structure, the father is the best option. The father must be a sound mind to succeed. Of a sound mind to succeed. And yeah, there is some research that actually says that after divorce, kids that are with their father end up to fare better down the road. So but that's structure wise. That's not necessarily preventing abuse too. So, but the very interesting, very fascinating dynamic. But yeah, man, I think that kids are just they're exposed to this stuff almost no matter what you do, whether you're married or
Yeah,
not.
and
Married
that's
or not, it's there, and that's really our goal with this series of episodes and podcasts is just to expose and say this is a problem that we need to be paying more attention to and being honest about. All right, ready for the
yeah.
next clip? All right, let me make sure I get the right one. All right, it's 790. I think
The
this one.
number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. It's time that we call them out. Not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing. We're going through a case to try to learn from this and do some more stuff. The guy that has already been put away and convicted of his crime was abusing an 18-month-old, his 18-month-old, and his 9-month-old. Then we're looking at what he was doing it on, and he was doing it on a Florida Gator blanket. And I was thinking, man, it's probably someone that was rooting for the Gators. Probably someone that maybe is a fan or likes the Gators. No, how personal this is. Maybe it's someone that's in the stadium watching us play. Like, this isn't far off or far across around the world. And even sometimes members of Congress will say to us, we got to worry about our backyard. No, we're talking about our backyard. This is our backyard.
Well, honestly, I would say it's really our front yard. As prevalent this is, it's not something that's behind us that we can ignore. It's in front of our faces. We just don't see it, or we're not honest about it when we do see it. I think that that's more of an issue.
Yeah, we're not honest about it.
And again, I just think back in my own childhood. Like if there were people being abused around me, I had no idea. I don't know. Nothing's come out outside of my stepfather, some stuff that he did later when we were a little bit older, but that wasn't in our family. That was outside of our family. But nothing outside of that, man, I can't think of any other like personal things that I like people like my cousins, or anything of that nature that I can think of. So, but like I said before, times have changed, right? The internet has given the access and the exposure just like way more than ever. And I wonder how much are we missing today? How much are we missing as parents or grandparents or whatever the case may be? What are we not seeing? So, what are your thoughts on that clip?
Actually, it's more so about what you said that goes with the clip. How much are we not seeing? Because I think a lot of people choose not to see it. And there's too many times where I bring it up in conversation with people trying to bring awareness that they shut down, that I didn't see that, or I haven't experienced that, So, and I've literally had people be like, I should take their advice. This doesn't happen that often. Don't worry about it that much. And it's like, well, just because you haven't experienced it or you haven't really seen it doesn't mean the people around you haven't experienced or seen it. But they choose to be ignorant. They choose to be silent. They choose to, just be like, well, it ain't that serious. Or they'll think it's serious when it actually happens to them. But because it's not happening to them, why should they be aware of it? Why should they really not care about it? So they're choosing not to see it. And this could be happening to their own child, but because they choose not to see it, how would they know?
Yeah, I think another part of this too is a lot of children aren't believed when they do actually say something, or they don't say, but they give clues. I think that happens a lot more just from a counseling perspective. A lot of times these things are acted out, not necessarily verbalized. but then there's like this, there's not a belief. Even with the case that we just shown from the guy from Minnesota, like the parents seen the text messages and
Yep.
reported it, and they didn't do, and it was just like they still didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing about it. It's insane. And then they had that voicemail or that voice call, that recorded phone call where he was just, I mean, he admitted everything. And that call was done a long time. They didn't say that in the clip, but that call was old. That was an old call, man. So, nothing. I think that there's a level of, does anybody do anything about these situations when they actually happen as well?
A lot of people would say no. A
crazy.
lot of victims would say no.
You just reminded me of a story. I forgot to post this one. Did you hear about? Continue on for a second, and I'll ask you. What was it? What was his name?
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of victims that'll say no. People don't do nothing about it. I mean, again, when the parents are the ones that are allowing it to happen, when you have too many people saying, or too many people shaming you for the wrong reasons or the wrong context, or people trying to negate accountability, then what happens?
Let me share something. Oh man, I hate these damn news article websites. They always have all these damn ads, and then you can't even look at the article. It's like, why even post it? But have you heard about this story? This just happened. This is about a week old, and I don't even know if you're familiar with this. Do you know who Pat Beverly is?
I know the name.
Pat Beverly, journeyman in the NBA, podcaster as well, recently got arrested. Now, when he first got arrested, when I seen it pop up on ESPN, it sounded like there was a family dispute where Pat Beverly had attacked a person who was trying to date his sister, his teenage sister. Then the details emerged, and he ended up strangling his 15-year-old sister, who was dealing with an older person. Now, this is fascinating. So this is like a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But you haven't seen this one yet, huh? So I'm gonna just read a little bit. But you this reminded me of it because it's like, okay, when stuff does happen, who responds? What is the response? What do you do? And a lot of times, authority figures don't take action, or schools, there's no accountability. A lot of times, people crash out, and then they take action, and then they end up being the ones who get in trouble. Like he just lost. I think he lost his deal with Barstool Sports because of this situation. So it's very fascinating. So former NBA star Pat Beverly is facing fresh pushback from fans after horrifying details of his arrest in November 2025 were released to the public. According to Legal Sports Report, Beverly was taken into custody after being called to his mother's house, where his minor sister shared frightening details with law enforcement officers. Okay. Pat Beverly was alleged punching minor sister in the face. As previously reported by The Blast, Beverly was arrested in Texas on felony assault charges. Court documents revealed that the 6'2" point guard was charged with assault, impeding breath or circulation for family violence. So he crashed out.
He crashed out.
Fuck his sister up. A report from the USA Today details that the Beverly's arrest, stating that the basketball player was called to his mother's home to address his teenage sister and her 18-year-old boyfriend. So he's 18. Yeah, let's put that there. She's 15. He's 18. They could be still in school together. After she reported, she snuck out. Beverly's sister stated Beverly grabbed her by the neck with both hands, picked her up off the ground by having her feet come up from the floor, reports say. However, the horrifying allegations didn't end there. Beverly's sister stated that Beverly squeezed her neck, causing her to feel pain. She felt as she was losing oxygen and not able to breathe, in future stated. Making matters worse, the report also claimed that Beverly laid his younger sister on the couch, stood over her, and punched her in the face, or punched her once in the left eye before making a statement to her during the assault, to the extent that he will be the family. Let me slow down. To the extent that he will be the family relative to kill her. Wow. Thoughts on this? Now this is
where did this take place? Where did this take place?
This was in Texas at the mom's house.
Sounds about right. Texas stayed competing to be the worst state. It stayed competing to be the worst state.
Like he already knew it was coming. He already knew it was coming.
Man, had to be Texas. Of course, it was Texas.
Mm. It's crazy. It's
This, I
crazy.
mean, this is a reaction that can happen.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't see a reaction, but this is a reaction. Dang.
Mhm. So he crashed out. Now she snuck out the house. I would say, okay, yeah, she's 15. The boy's not that much older than her. I mean,
Yeah.
still teens. So he crashed out. He crashed all the way out. So I thought this was fascinating because the way it was reported, if you don't dig into it, you don't realize that the other boy's 15 or 18 years old.
Yeah.
But he crashed out, bro. He crashed out. So I think when you do see responses, it's stuff like this. But most of the time, people don't respond. They just brush it under the rug, and people end up getting hurt, including crime. Is crazy.
Including crying. Was she? Someone had made a comment earlier.
This
Yeah.
one, yeah, I was coming back to it. Go for it.
'Cause I'm sorry that happened. Like
Yeah,
truly,
yeah. We
my
don't wish this upon nobody.
grandma was in this situation also, and she was assaulted by her father, but she ended up blacking it out. Now,
Mm,
other people know that it happened, but she's blocked it out, and that sucks. It's sad when you hear stuff like that,
yeah,
but then you don't hold the people accountable. I mean, the other people didn't hold them accountable,
right, right.
and we see that way too often. People don't get held accountable for this. You
Yep,
can abuse the children, and then bam, even if the child, because people hold them accountable and be like, you need to talk. But then it's like, but the other adults know what happened, so why didn't
right,
none else say anything?
right, right. Do they not care? And then now your value is in question to yourself, right? You start having
Yep.
self doubt. Do I matter in this family? No one believes me or trusts me. You guys don't care about me. If the person's still around, you guys are allowing the person to still be there. There's a lot that takes place. And again, we're sorry that this happened.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
what you call it? This actually would be a good time to show those 6 pictures that would
All
come
right,
after the video.
all right, I'll pull them up. Should I just show them in Discord? That might
Sure,
be
go
easier.
for it.
All right, let me open Discord up. I'll keep talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. As for Ergen, I mean, you already knew I was gonna have to highlight that one. I don't know what it is about you crazy Texans, man. But I'm glad dude took action.
All right, let's pull it up. So the first photo, oh, there we go. There we go. So this is the first photo here. Tell us about this.
So the girl tells you there's a picture of her. She was 15 because she's hearing people debate about the difference between a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old child. But the deeper truth is this: sexual violence is happening across a girl's entire lifespan. Go to the next one. Here's her at 9 years old, the first time she was sexually assaulted by her brother and his friend.
Wow.
The next one. Here's her at 12, sexually assaulted by a 23-year-old man. Go to the next. Here's her at 17, drugged and sexually assaulted at a house party. Here's her at 23, inside an adult marriage. 33-year-old her, finally safe and free, which gives you an idea of what was happening in her marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. So at least 10 years of that abuse in the marriage too, to add on to all the childhood trauma and experiences she had as well.
And people will tell her it's her fault.
Mm.
People will hold her accountable. They'll say, hey, you got to take accountability for being at that party, for marrying that man, for being around that person. for not saying something about your brother. Like, they will hold her accountable, starting from that as a child, conditioning her that it's her fault. And it's mainly the men that's doing it.
Right. Right. Do you I've asked you this offline before, but do you know if there's any research, or have you come across anything, or maybe you have your own theories on people who've been abused? How do they become repeat victims? Like, how does that? Because to me, it's like, damn, like, do you just have the worst luck in the world? You know, one quote you always say that pops in my head randomly is like, "God's playing in my face." God,
God
God,
trolled me. Yeah.
God
God
trolling
trolled
me. And it's like, and you say that, and I remember the first time I heard you say that, I'm like, this dude is insane. This is a crazy man.
You're not the only one who
But
thought that. Other people,
but
that's the same thing.
and this is like months ago when I first heard you say this, like back in like May or June or something. So, but since I've heard you say that, it's always with these types of dynamics, right? And it's like, how does one person have this luck to have these experiences over and over and over again? And as somebody who hasn't been victimized in this way, like it's really hard to like even imagine that, damn, this can happen to you so many times, so often. So what do you have any thoughts on that, or have you come across any research? How does someone become a repeat victim?
I personally can't. I don't know what to tell you on that one because that's something I am personally still studying. But
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, life is unfortunately life is chaos. Life is randomness. Things unfortunately do happen. Part of me feels like because of the fact that you've already been victimized, it's like some type of beacon to predators, and it's
Wow.
like now we know that's the person we're going to go after because they've already been victimized. Now
Wow.
again, I can't say that for a fact.
Sure.
But I'm just saying that's what it comes across because there's data on people who've been victimized, and there's a high chance that it's going to happen again.
Yeah, I think that's something we should keep trying to like pull the thread on, because I'm noticing this as a pattern. You know, my brain, I notice patterns and stuff. So like, it's not a unique circumstance to this woman. It wasn't a unique circumstance to your mother. And there's like thousands, probably even millions, but like so many stories of people who are like, I was this age, I was this age, I was this age, I
Oh,
was this. It's like,
think about the story you
whoa.
just heard with the girl being assaulted by the 50 men.
Yeah.
That's 50 times that's happened to her.
Yeah.
And it clearly wasn't just a one-time thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't, man. It's just like, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's just some aura thing where predators can just like sniff it out. Like, okay, that this person's given like abuse signal or something. Like maybe it's something that they do, or they respond, or I don't know. It could be a series of things. You know what? We should probably look more into it too. Um,
There's a picture.
that-
Go to that picture. It's right under her.
all right, let me back up. This guy.
Yep.
All right.
Detroit man charged after sexually assaulting 5-year-old girl
Got
in
that.
McDonald's bathroom. 34-year-old Joshua Joe Brown.
Mhm.
34-year-old dude. Couldn't hold it in. Had to go after a 5-year-old in a bathroom.
Wow.
You go to the one under that. 14-year-old girl found dead after being sexually assaulted, strangled with jumper cables.
Jesus. This is in
He had,
Louisiana.
he had to put her down. Surprise, I ain't in Texas. He had to put that down.
Close enough. Shit.
Like, you have things like that's happening. Like,
Yeah, this is local.
put it down. All right, go all the way down right before you had did it's like the group of guys.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, this guy, North Carolina man. I don't care about his party, but Kim Harris has been arrested for soliciting a child for sex and sending obscene images to a top child.
Wow.
This guy,
Michael.
or a school board member, arrested for sexually abusing a child. Michael Lee Absher, now facing child sex trafficking charges.
Mm.
Then you got this one. An Oklahoma man, Fred Underwood, arrested for sexually assaulting a minor. He's 73 years old.
Jesus. Yep. There. Damn.
You got this guy, David
Uh,
Biglio.
Biglio, the
Yeah,
second.
he was arrested for possession of child sexual abuse images.
Mm.
Listen to what that said, child sexual abuse images.
Yeah, that's crazy. See, that's that next level. I mean, they're all bad. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
level them off, but like to take it to the level of violence is like whoa.
You got Mr. Cornelius here, and he was sentenced to 35 to 51 years in prison for sexually abusing a child.
He got more time than Homeboy we looked at
Yup.
earlier. That's interesting. That's another thing too that maybe we should cover at a later date. Is the sentencing seems to be
Yup.
all over the place for this stuff. It's like
All
some
over.
people get 5 years, some people get 50. It's like what? There's no, and of course every state's gonna be different, but like how is this being judged? I don't. That's something that I do need to look and get some more details on.
This guy, Jonathan Edward, sentenced 23 years in prison for producing sexual abuse material.
Mm,
Again, these are the new drug dealers.
yeah,
Good old Maryland. This guy, John McGallar, he's
yeah,
been arrested for sexually abusing special needs children.
yeah. More vulnerability, special needs children, lack of oversight. He could be in a program, a school. Then those children probably can't really express themselves 100%. Yeah.
And then you got this guy, Robert. He pleaded guilty to sexually abusing multiple children between the ages of 3 and 10 years old.
Yeah. And again, when I see these older guys, I'm wondering, like, man, they could have been doing this for decades, man.
Yeah.
Like a long, like you. One of the Tim Tebow videos, they talked about the average person who abuses has like 13 victims. Like,
Yeah.
you see a motherfucker like this, man. That number can be like times 5, bro. You just never know.
And that goes back to the 90% of underreported.
Yeah, it's insane. And you all may have noticed most of these have Republican Party affiliations tagged on them. That doesn't mean that those are the only folks doing it. That's just the source. One of
Yeah,
the sources.
the source I follow.
Yeah, because this is across party lines and people who are not affiliated at the same time.
So there's this string of things I want to bring to y'all attention. Go up.
Oh,
It's back there. It's back there.
Yep. I'll back up 1 second.
It's about why are professionals failing to initiate mandated reports of child maltreatment.
I think that
It starts
was
at the top of that. It's the first picture,
all right.
so they can see it. But yeah, and the authors note that it's approximately 40% of mandated professionals have failed to report child maltreatment at some point in their careers. Now, let me note, this was a 1995 paper, basically a guide for mandatory reports on, pick a state, and they brought up the 40% regarding the failure of professionals to report suspected sexual abuse. Then in 2004, they did another one about why are professionals failing to initiate mandated reports. And they brought about that 40% again. From 1995 to 2004, it remained 40% of a failure rate. They brought up how 6% of those professionals consistently failed to report it. Then
Wonder why
The
that is.
2024 article titled Experiences of Continued Sexual Abuse After Disclosing, they found cases where children disclosed to mandated reporters, but the abuse still continued, which indicates a failure in the protective system. So this leads us to the June 2023 and 2024 review of state-sponsored mandated reporter training that found that many curricula do not adequately cover indicators of sexual abuse, nor barriers to reporting, which once again goes into the underreporting
Yeah.
that we still have. But then they tell you for child sexual abuse specifically, underreporting is massive, often estimated at 70 to 90%, depending on the study. So it literally starts at 70% and jumps into the 90% ratio.
Jesus.
And they do separate it now, which I did brought up by just, child abuse overall, sexual abuse, official reports from CPS. But this one I made sure to specifically go into child sexual abuse. Here's where, you ask for the data, Department of Justice, and, via the National Crime Victimization Survey, only 12 to 28% of sexual assaults against children are ever reported to authorities. That means 72 to 88% goes unreported.
Wow. Jesus.
CPS only sees a fractions of cases that occur in reality. They tell you that CPS substantiates that 60,000 child sexual abuse cases a year. But the CDC estimates approximately 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 20 boys are abused before 18. You look at that number by itself. And that's what they can substantiate.
Right.
Without
Uh,
the 70 to 90% figure that goes into it.
Right.
And then you go below that, and like I said, that equals to millions of children. So the CPS acknowledges a vast gap, but they do not officially quantify it as a percentage because they can't. There's no way to
You
quantify
can't. You can't do it. That's
it.
crazy.
So they tell you that most researchers conclude that the CPS captures less than 20% of the true number of child sexual abuse cases, which again implies an 80% plus of underreporting.
Yeah.
Department of Justice again gives you that 72 to 88%. The Towson and Reingold with the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, they say 86% goes unreported. The Crimes Against Children Research Center also says 70 to 90% is unreported. And then, of course, you also have the CDC and the ACA, the ACEs research that shows that the majority of child sexual assault cases never enter CPS, police, or courts. Hence why the cluster studies go between 80 and 90% of underreported cases.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Yeah. So a couple things to respond to this. Again, this is highlighting that this problem is way bigger than what we expect. And then when it does get reported, they're highlighting a few different issues. One, it doesn't get reported, and two, when it is reported, the people who are mandated reporters, which I would be considered a mandated reporter given the work that I do, professionals like myself are not reporting it adequately. Either they're not reporting it at all, or they're not reporting it the way they're supposed to. Now, you would think, oh, that's a training error, right? They don't know how to. But it shouldn't be that difficult, because when you're making a report, I don't know, Lionel, I know you've been in some jobs and stuff where you've had to be a mandated report. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but you don't have to have all the detail. You don't have to know exactly what happened. You don't even need to know the victim per se. As long as you can give enough identifying information, that's all you need to do to make a report.
Correct.
So there's something problematic that people aren't doing this. Like, this is weird to me. I've made mandated reports several times throughout my career for many different things, and I have made them around sexual abuse, both on young ladies and on young boys. And they don't need a lot of information to make the report. It's not your duty to solve the case. It's your duty to make the report and allow the professionals who are trained to do all that investigating do so and protect the folks that you're helping. This is alarming, man. This is super alarming. What say you on this? Damn.
And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because it's bigger than just the underreporting that happens, mainly because, you'll hear people say that, well, they didn't say anything. The kids didn't say anything. A lot of these victims did say something. That's why you constantly hear these people say, it doesn't matter if I say anything, nothing's going to happen. Because a lot of them have talked. But the unfortunate scenario becomes a system error or a human error, where either it didn't go nowhere.
Wow.
I got a story where my mom was assaulted by a cop at gunpoint, and he took her ID and told her that if you tell anybody, I'm going to take out your entire family. So what did she do? She went to the police and told them.
Mm-hmm.
Never entered the system. Nothing ever happened.
Wow. How old was your mom when this happened, roughly?
She was 18 at this point.
Wow. Mm. Yeah, it's insane, man. And you told me this story. I don't know if you talked about it publicly or not, but there's a lot of details, some graphic details involved in that situation too. It's insane.
And it's no different than my cousin, where she also was assaulted by a cop, and she went and told, nothing happened. And I'm not just trying to point out that, it's the cops. I'm just saying that you can go, these are the people that are supposed to report it, supposed to investigate it. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
There are people that have said that they've gone, they've talked with CPS and nothing happens, but there's a lot of red tape in that situation also. And there's constant barriers around these areas that sometimes, because I'm not going to say all the time what a majority, but sometimes it feels like we're protecting or ignoring the predators more than we are acknowledging and protecting the actual victims.
Yeah.
But for them to tell you that from 1995 up to currently, there's a 40% of maltreatment in terms of reporting, and the numbers haven't changed.
Yeah, that's when you add those two stats together, it's like, first, you're only getting about 30% of the time reported, and then when it is reported, only 40% reported accurately. Is insane. Like, that's insane. It pretty much says it's not being reported. That's pretty much what it's saying. But when it actually is being reported, the numbers are sky high. So if we actually had a closer to 100% report rate, dude, we're looking at multiple millions of people being victimized.
So when you
and some people more than once.
Exactly. So when you really start putting that number together and start looking at how bad this is, it's like I said, we're not protecting these children. And again, I'm literally focusing heavily on child, like 18 and under. But this is all encompassing also, because if we're just looking at our backyard or our front lawn and not looking at the rest of the world, like, this is alarming.
Yeah.
This is alarming. And to have so many people trying to throw it under the rug or say, this isn't really happening, or these men ain't really out here doing that. This is why I always say, I understand why the women choose the bear.
Yeah.
I ain't saying it's smart, but I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's really bad. Again, this stuff is happening more than we know. It's affecting, people. I mean, we have people in the chat, yourself, People me and you both have talked to on and offline who've had their own experiences, or people very close to them who've had experiences in this. It's not something that's done, in the dark, so to say. It's not something that's hidden. It is a thing that is operating around us all the time. And we're not coming here and talking about this to scare you or tell you the world is awful and don't try to find joy, but do be aware of what truly is happening. And a lot of folks are being abused on a consistent basis. Like it's rampant. It's very rampant. We're gonna wrap up here in about 5 minutes. I did want to catch this comment though before. Make sure. Oh, let's do this. We will cover this case. We're building our information. We'll get to it. This will be a series on all these things. We're gonna try to keep this thing rolling as best as we can without scaring people off too much. No, seriously though, because a lot of people don't want to talk. We just talked about it. A lot of people do not want to talk about this. Our first episode did really good though. I mean, we got over 300 views on that last episode. So people are curious enough. Are they willing to talk about it? Only time will tell, but at least people are willing to say, you know what? This is something that does need to have some attention paid to it. We've had a lot of comments on those videos. Some people even shared their own experiences. We want to thank all those folks who are, willing to share their stories, because I know it's not easy, even right here in the chat with Nasha, being able to share her story as well. So, and I think, man, this might be a nice side quest for us, is to figure out, like, how does this repeat? How does a victim become a repeat victim? What is that about? That might be something for us to look at. Here's Urban's take on it. He says, I have theories. It could be energy. It could be a desire to be a victim for acceptance. It could be God trolling. It could be a lot of things. I don't know. I think it might be one of those answers to this might be a pie, where there's several different factors, and it's not just one thing that leads to people being victimized multiple times. Any final thoughts or things you wanted to pull up before we wrap up today?
No. This was a good show. The last one actually is still climbing. Actually, that one got over 800. And
so you know the numbers on my channel better than me.
Yeah, so I mean, people are definitely jumping in, giving it a peek, finding its way, and I hope it'll keep finding. All of these will keep finding, and just we're like you said, we're not here to scare anybody, but at the same time, you should be scared. You should be aware.
Yeah,
life is a series of fears, and there's kids right now, unfortunately, that are in fear.
Yeah.
There are parents out there who also are just, the right information hasn't gotten to them. Some people just haven't realized, dang, maybe I could do a little bit more. Maybe I could do a little bit more to protect my child. Because right now, these children are not being protected at all. And when you're looking at this data and you're looking at these numbers, and this is just decades amount of data, and they're telling you that, it's not getting better.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah. It's a huge problem. Again, we're doing this for awareness, not necessarily to scare people, not to hurt people or anything in that nature. We truly want folks to just understand that this is a bigger issue than we may let off. And when I say we, I'm not talking about necessarily me and Lionel, but just we as people. We turn a blind eye to a lot of things in our society, and this is one of those things that I don't think we should. Before we close out, I do want to leave a resource. I try to be that person who's like, yo, if you need something, you need to say something. So if you are a victim, or if you know a victim, if it's time for you to talk about it, if you want more information, this might be a place for you to stop and check out. This is the RAIN National Sexual Assault Hotline. The number is 800-656-HOPE. So 4673. Again, 800-656-HOPE 4673. That will get you connected to some professionals. And I know we just talked about professionals, so hopefully that doesn't scare you as well, but I'd rather you try to get some help than not when dealing with these types of situations. So don't assume that everyone's bad or everyone's out to get you or everyone's predators. Then don't deal with your abuse alone. The services there are free, confidential, and available 24/7 via phone. They also offer a line that's text. They have a text service that's free as well, so you can go ahead and utilize that number as well. And then also, obviously, for emergencies, call 911. But don't be victimized by things that show up. And again, during this holiday season, we're gonna come back tomorrow for a special Thanksgiving episode as well and follow up on this conversation. But as you're spending time with your family during the holidays, like, and if you've been victimized, it may be time to say something. It might not. But if you do, make sure you have some support because that can get ugly very quick. And we've heard stories like Lionel, I think we covered a couple stories like that too, where people outed things and they turned on the victim even more. So you got double victimized. So be very careful with the things that you're experiencing, but definitely take care of yourself. Any final thoughts?
Nope. I appreciate the show, man. I hope to see y'all all tomorrow.
Yes. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for who stopped by and dropped a comment. For those of you who are going to watch this later, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section and we'll keep this thing rolling. We want to encourage everybody to take care of themselves, be safe, be constructive, be well, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Peace.
Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.